Hello and welcome to my newest YouTube video, Your Tools Are Not Your Goals. Before I talk about the main subject of this video, I'm going to talk just a little bit real quick about this painting I'm working on. I gave myself a 30-day challenge for the month of March, and my goal was to draw one original character, or OC, every day of the month. And I gave myself one extra day to skip if I need to. So these paintings are, as you can see, fairly small, and I'm just doing them with gouache paint on watercolor paper. You can see all of these on my Instagram if you go to, I'm at Miss Mark on Instagram, or you can search the hashtag March of OCs and you can see other people's work who have contributed as well. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about a struggle that I went through that doesn't seem that big looking back, but it actually had pretty huge repercussions on my work and kind of my attitude as an artist, so I thought I would share my experience with you for anyone else who is going through the same thing. The first time I realized I had a problem when it came to having priorities, I was employed part-time at a bookstore that I liked, and I wasn't making tons of money from my art, but I was growing and getting the occasional commission or job. My part-time job paid well, and I had plenty of time to create art. The scary thing that bothered me was this situation was pretty much ideal, and I still wasn't happy. Now, if you haven't achieved your dreams yet, or if you're nowhere close to them, you can always look forward to it, you know. But if you feel like you have achieved most of your goals, or at least a big chunk of them, and you're kind of living the dream, or so you thought, but you're not happy, that's really scary because you kind of feel like maybe you didn't even know how to have proper dreams and hopes. Like, everyone is struggling so hard to make a living and make art, and I was doing that, and I was very, very, not very miserable, but just overall unsatisfied. And I was kind of scared to think about why I was feeling this way, because I was afraid that if I really looked at myself, the answer would be I shouldn't be an artist. I don't actually like art. I was really, really scared that might be the case. Now, if I was thinking about it rationally, I wouldn't have been worried because I've been drawing my whole life and I studied it, and I knew deep down that I loved it, but I just wasn't feeling the love at the time. Put it that way. But something that I was kind of feeling frustrated with was it seemed like no matter what kind of art I made, it didn't work the way I wanted it to. So I took a long, hard look at why I wasn't happy with anything that I did. And the answer kind of surprised me both because of how obvious it was, but also kind of the more subconscious level of why it was disappointing. So one thing was I didn't feel like I was making much money from my art, and I wasn't. And the other thing was I felt like I was doing a lot of work and no one was noticing, which first of all wasn't true. But I felt like not enough. It wasn't getting enough attention and it wasn't getting enough money. And so my thought was, well, I should switch careers, maybe go back to school or something, and find a job that will give me the attention, the recognition and money that I clearly deserve. And so I started making a list of careers that would get me the money and the recognition that I want, kind of the prestige I was looking for. And I don't mean like I wanted to be famous. I don't think that was ever a driving force. But when I say prestige and reputation, what I mean is when someone asks me, what do you do? I wanted to have a really good job title to give them. Something that they would go, oh, I'm very impressed. And Illustrator, I was like, oh dear, why? So I thought, okay, first answer that I came up with, first idea I came up with was med school. And I was like, oh yikes, that's scary. But med school would be a good one. When someone asks you what you do and you say you're a doctor, they're impressed and you make good money. I thought about law school. I actually looked at trade schools in my area where I was like, just do construction. That's just straightforward and they make good money. I'm just going to become a welder. I was actually going even further. I started looking at how much money I could make if I sold my art supplies. That's how bad this was. I'm like, okay, I've got a bunch of Prismacolor markers. If I sell each of them for $2, that'll give me some money. But the next question I asked, this ended up being the most important question in a way. I asked myself why I hadn't chosen jobs that I knew paid better and had a better reputation or, prestige. It's not like I thought art was going to get me rich. I knew that. I knew there's no such thing as like an instantly wealthy artist. I don't think there's even really wealthy artists per se. I knew it wasn't going to be like everyone's impressed with it. I knew that right away through my college years. Like saying you're an artist always gets mixed reactions. So I knew I wasn't going to get either of those things from the beginning. So the question was, why did I do art anyway? And what's funny is I had the right answer right away and I didn't want to listen to it. The answer was because I've always loved stories. And that answer definitely occurred to me, but I thought, well, okay, yeah, but that's the reason I did it when I was 10 years old. What's my reason for doing it now? What's my grown-up reason for doing art? And I really struggled with real deep reasons and trying to come up with the most profound answer to that question I could. But ultimately, I couldn't come up with anything better than I got into art because I love stories. I will say I refined it a bit and said I love stories that have meaning, that give meaning to the audience. And the meaning could be really simple. I mean, like fairy tales and, with those really obvious morals. I love those. And I would be totally okay doing stories like that. But coming upon that purpose, that reason, was actually very, very liberating, kind of more so than I could have ever imagined, because all of a sudden I took a lot of pressure off my art. I was no longer saying, to myself, you're a failure if you're not making money. You're a failure if if people aren't impressed with you, or if you don't have an impressive title to give someone, you're a failure. I basically threw those insecurities out the window as soon as I said, I make art because I love stories. And it made all kinds of things not matter. Like the fact that I had a part-time job at a bookstore, which was fine, but it wasn't what I wanted to do my whole life, but I didn't care. It gave me a paycheck so I could do art. And what I had done, what I had to overcome was the fact that tools for making art, as in a paycheck, had suddenly become the purpose of making art. I had gotten my tools and my goals switched. So once I switched them back, where I said, no, money is just a tool that allows me to live and be housed while I make art, then art all of a sudden wasn't obliged to be a money maker. Because first of all, it's unrealistic. Second of all, it's so superficial compared to what I want out of art. So the reason I felt this was important to talk about is I see a lot of artists feeling at various points in their lives disillusioned with their art, and I really think a lot of the times it's because we are expecting something from art that we don't honestly want. So obviously I want money. I like money. But money is not what fulfills me, and money is not what is not actually what gives me happiness. It might give me security and it might give me peace of mind, but actual happiness and fulfillment, not so much. So taking something I love like art and not letting it fulfill my purpose, not letting it give me meaning, it's a really easy way to disillusion yourself and feel disappointed in your work, So, yeah, basically what I did was I returned art to the pedestal it needed to be on, which, and I removed money and fame and all that kind of stuff and put them back in the toolbox where they belonged. And that's kind of a good way to think about it. I put money back in the toolbox and put my art back on display. I want to look at the art. I don't want to look at the money. I want to, I want the art. I need the money. I have to use money. I make art. That's a good way to put it. I use money. I do not use art, or I try not to use art. And that's not to say you shouldn't aim for making money or try to become a professional or full-time, but you really need to know why you want to do this full-time. And it really can't be because of the money. I really think that you're setting yourself up for disappointment there if you say, I want to be full-time so that I can be rich. You're just really setting yourself up for heartache, I think, if that's your main purpose. Now, that's a good goal or that's a good tool to say, I want to be full-time so that I can make more art. That's totally normal. But saying I want to make art so that I can make money full-time, if that makes sense, that's kind of the backwards way, putting the cart before the horse, as they say. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. I hope you enjoyed watching the painting. If you have any thoughts about, how do you balance your need for money versus your inspiration and your love of art, and if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it. This is something I'm still working through. I made it sound maybe like I figured it out and I'm all done, but it's definitely something I struggle with, and I would welcome your thoughts on the matter. If you want to see more paintings like this, you can go to my Instagram. The link is in the description below. And I think that's it for today. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.